it's my pleasure now to, invite a young woman who's very poised, and she's had an extremely interesting year. Interesting is probably not the right word for it. Victoria Sharp, welcome to Sacred Cow Barbecue for the first time.
Thank you.
This has been a year, but you were at the Bundy Ranch and you made quite an impression on people that you met 2 years ago when you were only 16 at the time. And they were very impressed that you were well-spoken and well-informed and could hold your own with any adult conversation. That was pretty impressive for a 16-year-old.
Oh, thank you. I was homeschooled, so.
Right. Homeschool. Oh, there we go. And so are you, since we're talking vaccines, are you unvaccinated?
I was not vaccinated growing up, so.
Absolutely. See, and you're still alive at 18. Amazing. Another miracle. Absolute miracle. Yeah, exactly. So I used to be able to tell homeschool children and during children's church because they were confident and self-governed and made eye contact with me. And they would be what should I say? They were self-motivated and things. I was very impressive. And I thought I was seeing the effect of homeschooling, but I think what I was really seeing was the effect of being unvaccinated.
Probably both.
Yeah. I think it was more. Yeah, exactly. Maybe both, but I'm always impressed with homeschool kids. You're at the Bundy Ranch. How do you feel about so many men being in prison right now before sentencing, before a trial? I mean,
it's crazy. It's absolutely horrifying. I remember when I was at the Bundy Ranch, they were so kind to us. They spent a lot of time with Carol and Cliven Bundy and a lot of time with Ryan Bundy and his family. And I remember feeding the little baby calves that had been separated from their moms, or their moms had been killed by the BLM or injured badly. And there was like 20 of them. So we spent, or over 20 baby calves without their moms. So we spent a lot of time with the babies, and just they really just, the Bundys, our van broke down when we were in Nevada, and they kept us there and housed us and fed us, and they paid $2,500 to fix our van while we were there, and they just took really good care of us, treated us like their own children.
Well, what somebody was shocked is when we saw you in Utah after LaVoy Finicum's very tragic funeral, that you guys were still driving the same van.
Yes, I actually was with my family at that. Well, that was the first time I had seen my family since LaVoy was shot. But they still drive the same van. That van has gotten them a lot of places.
Yeah, that's absolutely amazing. They must put a lot of prayer into that van, gas and prayer and oil, I'm sure.
That's right.
That's right. Well, listen, you weren't supposed to be in LaVoy Finicum's truck that evening. You were supposed to be with your family in the truck that Mark McConnell was rushing to get out of there because he wanted them to get through before they set up the roadblock. And so you were late. You were taking a shower. And so that's how you were late and ended up in LaVoy's truck.
Well, I had been outside with some of the guys, so I was running late because I was covered in mud. And so when my family was supposed to leave at 3 o'clock, but I didn't get back to the chow hall till like 10 till 3, and I was just a mess. So I asked Brian Payne if I could go with them instead, and so my family took off before us, and we left around 3:30, and I was in the back of LaVoy's truck. So you're right, I was not supposed to be in there, but God had me in there for a reason.
And what do you think that reason was?
I think that the reason is that I was able to witness what happened, and so I could give my testimony to people who are watching, to the world, and say that this was an injustice and that it needs to be fixed. That we as Americans need to call for justice to be done, because a man was murdered.
I look at some of the stuff that the government's putting out, and they're trying to say that the supposedly the troops that were the FBI agents were the hostage rescue team. I'm not buying that for a New York Minute, but they're saying that, oh yes, they fired two shots.
Well,
Two.
I'll tell you that it certainly did sound like this too when we were sitting in that truck. Shawna and I didn't even talk about it. She went directly to jail, and I went to it took me to the sheriff's department, and so we did not speak. But both of our stories came out saying over 100 shots were fired, because that's what we heard when we were sitting in the truck. They just kept coming, and it was very scary. I don't know if every one of those rounds were legal. There's probably a good there's I know that some non-lethal rounds were fired at the scene as well, because non-lethal rounds were found later on the scene. But I do know that, it sounded to us that at least 100 or more than 100 rounds were fired while we were in that truck.
Well, the tow truck driver said that the truck was riddled.
Yes, but he did say that. And then they put a gag order on him so that he couldn't say anything else. So. Well,
I guess he said everything. He said everything he needed to say as far as I'm concerned.
That's right. That's right. He got it out before, he told the truth before they had the chance to tell him to shut up.
Exactly. Well, you and Rene were both at the arraignment hearing last week. I didn't make the one Monday. I think was it Monday? No, Wednesday. I didn't make the one Wednesday because I got tied up at the Henderson Detention Center. I was going to do that first, see Eric Parker. But it took me over 2 hours to be able to see him, even though it was first thing in the morning when it's supposed to be slow. There was some kind of snafu going on. So I didn't get to the court. But the arraignment last Friday, that was, if it wasn't so serious what they're putting these men and doing to these men, I mean, it would be laughable. Absolutely laughable, yes. The show that was put on. So give me your impression.
Last Friday I was, when we left the courthouse, my spirits were actually somewhat lifted because I feel like by the end, we had shown that the public had shown that we still support them no matter what. But it was very sad to hear Ammon Bundy tell how he had been treated and what had been done to him in the last few days. He told how they didn't feed him for 2 days. They kept him handcuffed to a bench for 23 hours straight. He was put into a cell that was extremely dirty and unsanitary, and he was not allowed to clean it, and he was handcuffed to a bed for 24 hours there. And for 2 days, they gave him no food. And finally, that night, he was banging his handcuffs together, and the guy in the cell over started banging his door. And finally, a guard came, and eventually he was able to get some food from another prisoner. But the way they were treating those guys is atrocious.
Yeah, it's Gulag America full on, and the order has come down from Harry Reid to abuse these men. And I blame the order takers as much as I blame the order givers. People should recognize. They can't all be sociopaths. These guards need to know that, this is the wrong thing to do. And so I feel like their judgment will be... Pardon me?
But I was just going to say that reminds me of, when we were on scene with, when the whole thing with LaVoy happened, I remember that we were sitting there, Shawna and I were sitting together, and I was crying, and she started to ask the guards, she's like, is it worth the paycheck to do this? Is it worth the paycheck to murder innocent people? And it just reminded me of that when you said that the order takers are guilty as much as the order givers because they're just getting paid to commit crimes.
What did he answer?
Exactly. Rene, I can tell you're dying to say something. Go ahead.
Well, I just want to know what that man answered, Shawna.
He said, as far as I remember, they all were denying having fired any shots. all of them were like, it wasn't me, it wasn't me, it wasn't anyone who she asked about it. And he was just like, we're just doing our job, All of them, were saying that they were just doing their job, and that it hadn't been them, So
that they weren't the ones that shot.
They were all in denial.
Right. And that's interesting. That's exactly when my house was SWAT teamed by the bad sheriffs in Orange County, I call them. The good sheriffs that they think they are at a meeting were very clear on saying the same thing. It wasn't us. We weren't the ones. So it's starting to sound like a whole nother script, isn't it, Patricia? Like this whole thing that comes down.
Oh, totally. I mean, they're creating a narrative that can't hold up. But what I'm really disturbed about is that they set a trial date of May 2nd for the Bundy Ranch standoff.
Right.
But knowing that they had 19 men, they've got them in different facilities. Many of the, oh my God, I'll go off on this later. But the abuse that these men are suffering, and then they're carting so many of them back and forth between Oregon, and they expected to have a trial on May 2nd. Well, these men deserve a speedy trial.
Yeah, they'll change that. Tomorrow they're hearing at 10 o'clock. They have a hearing tomorrow at 10 o'clock in the morning, and it has to do with this trial date.
Sure, exactly.
Whether or not it's a complex case. But I think that the reason why they did that is because I think that they're hoping that, they know that the guys will not be ready by May 2nd because of the way they've been treated and handled and not been able to have access to their attorneys or evidence or anything. And so they set the trial date for May 2nd so that they'll give up their speedy trial rights and so that they can extend it to months or years forward,
Well,
so we'll see what happens.
My point with them was that absolutely we will happily go along with the February 2017 date if you will release us pre-trial, like we should.
Right.
Like we should. They release murderers and rapists on bond.
Yes, that's right.
They release people, political prisoners. They've released with, ankle tracking devices.
Yes.
And so
they want to make these guys examples.
It's just vindictiveness, vengeance of Harry Reid in the BLM for being shown up here.
Many people are saying right now, too, that they are hoping that Harry Reid is hoping for death. If you'll look at Greg Burleson right now, he's been a month without his dialysis. He's blind now. Mm-hmm. You've got a man who's lost 40 pounds because he's not getting the medical care. A dog gets better care at the pound than these men are getting.
Yeah, I'm gonna see him on Saturday, Rene, and we've got some things cooking there. He should not be in. He's blind. He's a risk to no one. None of these men. And so, but I'm not sure about the dialysis situation. I know he was on medication when he was arrested, and when they put him in Pahrump, they changed the medication. I'm sure that's part of it. Have you talked to his family that it's that he is on dialysis?
I haven't talked to his family, but I know that the one gal this afternoon, because I asked to get verification, and it was verified that he is very, very ill.
Oh, he's very ill. The person I sat next to in the court last Friday is a registered nurse, and she had been to see him, and she was shocked at his appearance, how bad he looks. And so I called Senator Heller's office today twice, and a number of other so-called public officials, and this has got to stop, because there'll be a wrongful death suit if Greg Burleson.
They don't care. We already have a wrongful death suit. There is anything here that anyone thinks is going to make a difference, because right now what this is a vendetta by Harry Reid, and this is also a trial and error run. This is a total, and this is based on evidence I'm seeing. This is my opinion. This is a trial run for martial law. They've been using this as a training ground for all of these agents. And we do have a couple of whistleblowers, and information is going to be coming out that this all centered around, for the last many years, martial law. That's why there's 15 armories full worth of artillery and machinery in Oregon right now. So, you've got all these appointed people. You've got a murdered man. You've got proof that this community has the number one Freemason lodge in the world with such a small population, and anyone that's listening knows that that means. We released that study that was done out of George Fox University about the children and the effects of the occult and the lack of Christianity and the part that Christianity plays in the demise of the children that don't believe. We know there's child trafficking. This isn't just about Ammon and them taking over the refuge.
Because, no, it's much bigger than all that.
They were given the keys. There was no trespass. My first question to this is, we know there was no trespass. We know the keys were given. We know there were insiders. We know the sheriffs were at the meeting that was supposed to be the private one Ammon had. We know the sheriffs knew they were going and gave them free clearance by calling out to the Narrows saying, don't worry. Yeah. So where is this even in the court? It should not be. The very first thing they were accusing them of, there was no trespass. We have a void here. But we also have a void of common sense brain cells that are not honorable. These men who are persecuting and prosecuting are not honorable men. And those men and women that they are using as public, we call them public pretenders, you have to know these are not the top of the food chain at the office.
No, the chief judge here in Las Vegas is Gloria Navarro. She was appointed to the bench by Harry Reid.
Another appointment.
Yeah, mm-hmm. And I don't know if all federal judges get appointed. I know district court judges get elected, and I don't really give you 5 cents for an election. But Victoria, tell us a little bit about. I got kicked out last week because, don't laugh, Rene. It was legitimate. An arraignment usually takes 15 minutes. So I was figuring, well, 5 of them or so. So I put 3 hours on the parking meter. This is downtown Las Vegas. And right. When they started reading, the men insisted on reading the 68-page indictment. Could you hear what I couldn't hear very well what the clerk was reading. Could you, Victoria?
I could hear her. I didn't pay a whole lot of attention, honestly, because it was frustrating me every time that I hear an indictment read, which I heard some in Oregon read. They frustrate me because there's just a lot of lies, lies about or lying charges against these men. And so I was,
yeah.
But I try to block it out, and I focus on paying attention to the guys that I'm there to see and support. But I did hear a lot of lies that made me angry during the indictment.
Oh yeah, the indictment's just a creative writing class, and what they kept saying over and over again is what they're basing this on is Clive Bundy and somebody that's saying whatever it takes, we'll do whatever it takes.
Yes,
and they kept saying,
I remember that.
So any man that his family is being threatened with being Waco'd, who doesn't do whatever it takes, is no man at all.
That's right. He's a coward.
And so they have a very flimsy case here. But I was
well, and they don't have the evidence to prove that he did anything unlawfully other than defend himself.
And they're trying to do a big conspiracy charge, like he, involved all these people. No, the people. Eric Parker's never met Clive Bundy.
That's right.
He never met Ryan Payne. He doesn't know any of these people. They just showed up.
People showed up because they were concerned for the safety of these ranchers. Exactly. It was not that Clive said, everybody get out here and bring your guns and threaten me, BLM. That was never said. And so people that went out there, you're right, they were not conspiring with Clive Bundy or Ryan Payne or Ryan Bundy or anyone.
No.
They went out there to help.
Right. And so the interesting part of last week's hearing is when the clerk got tired and couldn't read anymore, the prosecuting attorney just volunteered and wanted to use the lectern to get up and read from. You want to tell people what happened then?
I actually was not in the courtroom at that moment because I was bringing Mike Arnold his briefcase back because actually I thought that there was a lot of interesting parts in the court hearing. Ammon Bundy's attorney for the Oregon case, Mike Arnold, and I think you were in there at this time, Patricia, but he got kicked out.
Right.
He had promised, Ammon's attorney from Oregon had promised Ammon that he would be in the courtroom with him because Ammon is traveling down here. He doesn't know what's going to happen. So Mike said, I'll be there for you. So he's in the courtroom. He had gone in with the attorneys, and usually all the attorneys have their cell phones with them, and they're allowed to use them. So Mike got on his cell phone because he got an emergency notice that a motion had to be filed for the Oregon case by that evening. So he's working on a motion while they're reading this long 63-page indictment, and the marshal comes up to him and very, very rudely tells him to get out of the courtroom, that he knows that he's not allowed to be on the cell phone, and Mike politely tries to tell him how he didn't know that because he had gone in with the attorneys and that he's trying to file this emergency motion, that he's Ammon's attorney, and they were adamant that he had to get out of the courtroom, and they're just very rude. And
I was pretty shocked that the marshal got to say to him, why aren't you sitting up there with your client? I thought that was pretty rude.
That's right. I was that made me pretty upset. It made Mike pretty upset too. I would be upset if I was Ammon's attorney and I just got kicked out of the courtroom for filing a motion.
That was
on the other case.
The judge, ladies, the judge actually from Oregon, remember, this was last minute. This was something she knew that Ammon was going to be in court. So he had just gotten a text after 3 o'clock, mind you, that by 4:30 they had to have those papers filed because the judge had a change of heart. She was going to let them file them. So it wasn't just that he got it. It was a last minute. It was already, he only had an hour to do it.
It was premeditated.
Yeah.
Brown knows that he was in court. I mean, there's nothing straight up about any of this. This is all a complete perjury and creative writing circus that's going on right now.
Well, it should go.
Hold on, I want to get to the fun part before we run out of time tonight.
Yes, the prosecutor.
The prosecutor getting up and reading. Go ahead.
I swear we have to find out because I started snorting. I was laughing so hard and trying to control it. Everybody in the room broke out in laughter, including the marshals that were there. There were some marshals laughing. He got up. I swear all he needed was a crown and a sword and a sash, and he could have been in the middle of a Shakespearean play. He had his hands working and was, and this, and then, it was like, oh, dear God, are we really hearing this? The judge even looked up at him, and you could tell the judge was like, this can't be real. In my mind, I heard the judge in his own mind going, damn, I know this is a circus we're putting on, but buddy, calm it down, because that's we all laughed. So I went out in the hallway and I was still laughing so hard. I thought, I have now witnessed the epitome of this circus turning into not only a 3-ring, but we got the monkey is an ape in there doing Shakespeare.
I know. Well, the thing that I thought was striking to me, ladies, was that the judge kept referring to the gallery as the audience. And I go, it's theater. He already knows it's theater.
It's all theater.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's all theater. It's all being made up as they go, knowing full well. And I want to read something to you that I found today. It's called the McDade Doctrine. Have you heard of that?
No.
It's called the McDade Act. It's 28 U.S.C. 530B. Under the McDade Act, the U.S. attorneys cannot appear on behalf of the United States of America. U.S. attorneys are federal. The United States of America is not. Therefore, it says, and I'm going to quote, the United States attorneys are not United States of America attorneys. They do not have authority to represent Delaware corporations in federal courts. This is misrepresentation for these U.S. attorneys appearing in any state or federal court on behalf of the United States of America. This misrepresentation is actionable under the McDade Act of 28 U.S.C. 530B. Someone want to put that in a pipe and smoke it in this circus, because something's not right.
Well, I see a bunch of stuff in 28 USC, ladies. Chapter 85, this whole part of it says that only civil cases can be brought before federal courts. This is a criminal case. How did they get criminal going in federal court?
How do they have any of this going when you have men who are being charged with crimes with guns when Ammon and Mr. Bundy don't even carry a gun? Right. Eric Parker, where he was at, it has already been stated, no matter what he was aiming at, it couldn't have been the federal agents at the gate, because the way where he was, the projectile would not have been in their direction.
No, he couldn't even see the gate from where he was.
No. So, we've got all of these charges just being piled on, and the woman who does the indictment is Catherine, was it Armstrong, or what was it, Anderson? Armstrong.
No, I think Armstrong. She's a bar card and a badge.
Yeah, but she was a prosecuting attorney in Philadelphia before. And the whole thing is they put her into this directly after Bunkerville. So this has been a planned event all the way. And had it not have been for the last 4 holdouts, that's the last key they had to get in Clive and Bundy to Oregon. They used them to bait him in, and they got him.
But but with the way the indictment is, I think they could have arrested him anywhere. They didn't have to lure him to Oregon.
Oh, they didn't even have any of it to arrest him until this was all thought up last. Well, goodness, now we can get him, and we'll go ahead and get all of them in Nevada now too. This was Harry Reid.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's Dirty Harry all over. So
I think that they saw, this, what happened with LaVoy and what happened that day, and they arrested Ammon and Ryan and all of the others. They saw that as a big victory, and they're like, well, let's just squash this whole thing. We'll get Clive in, and then we'll get everybody else that was at Bundy Ranch, and we'll make a big statement saying, if you go against anything in the federal government, no matter if it's constitutional or unconstitutional, it doesn't matter. This is what we will do to you. We will lock you up on death without an end, with no way to give you justice, and we will treat you like criminals that have, committed this huge crime. And they just want to make a statement to all Americans that this is what they're going to do to you if you stand in their way of power.
Right. Well, this is opposite land. So whatever the government is accusing anyone in these 2 cases about is exactly what they're doing.
And case in point, the phones. Remember, they were saying you couldn't have the phones, but yet we looked around. The female marshal sitting behind the 5 men was on her phone the whole time.
She was a Bolshevik from hell.
Oh, they were all there was marshals and that on their phone the whole time we were in there. So double standards. But remember, this is a perfect training exercise for martial law. They are using this. This is why they're creating so much. Because they're creating scenarios in which to have maneuvers, training, and we know for a fact that there were men sent to Harney for training. So why would you be going for training if this isn't training exercise? So, we've got a lot of scenarios going on here. They don't care if they murder someone, because this is martial law. One man dying in order to see how your enemy acts. You have to think about that. They think about the people as the enemy.
No, yeah, they do. What's interesting is that I talked with somebody's attorney yesterday, and it's funny because there's mixed things here. One person's attorney said that they're going to be at court tomorrow for this complex case, discussion. And then other attorneys are saying, oh, no, it's just going to be the attorneys and the judge. So which is it?
Confusion.
I was told that there is a hearing tomorrow. I talked to Carol earlier, and there's a hearing tomorrow at 10 in the morning.
Yeah, we're going to be there, but who's going to be there? Are the political prisoners going to be allowed to be there? That's what the controversy is.
I believe that they are going to be there, but I can double check. I guess I wouldn't be able to do that while I'm on the show, but
no. We've been hearing it both ways, so it's kind of it'll be interesting. But they've really ramped up the police around the courthouse now. And get this, it's because it's because one of the lawyers, the federal lawyers, received a threat and had to be escorted from her office to the courthouse, or from the courthouse to her office, or whatever. Not well. I'm gonna. You know what? I got $5 right now.
I'll bet
It says that call was the feds did it themselves, just like they did the militia, the aggressive militiamen in Burns.
Of course, I'll bet you more. It's Las Vegas. Heck, let's bet that and dinner.
All right, you're on, Rene.
You got it, babe. This we've got to start. And they won't let you film, but yet they remember as we left the court, the marshal standing out there filmed us as we left on his phone.
They've got the Metro camera right there that's doing voice, face recognition and voice patterns and all that.
He did it on his own phone, though. It was his private phone.
It was for intimidation. They were trying to intimidate us, not to stand against the wrong.
Right.
Yeah.
It just gets to the point where you have to, what doesn't make sense, you have to go, well, what does make this make sense? What makes this make sense?
None of it.
Is the opposite. It's Harry Reid. It's all a game. It's all a ploy. And they're using the lives of these good men in order to see how the American people will react.
Exactly. And still vilify them. When I talked to somebody at Heller's office today, the guy said, well, I think that there should only be one of them in jail, and that should be Cliven Bundy.
Oh, good Lord.
He said because of what he owes on taxes. And I said, taxes? You think this is about taxes?
Where's the bill? There isn't even a bill. They've never produced one.
Yeah, it's never been about taxes. And so I straightened him out, and that took a few minutes. But he was like, wow, I didn't know any of that. And I go, of course you didn't, because you only listen to the mainstream media. And when I mentioned, it's just crazy. So, Victoria, you've got a vested interest here. You know these people. You love these people. Yeah. And do you feel like Shawna's got a gag order now after being on this show? And so, but have they tried to threaten you in any way with a gag order?
They haven't yet. We'll see what happens. But because I'm not in their court system yet, I doubt that they will. So.
Well, if they can put a gag order on the tow truck driver, I don't see why they can't do it to anybody.
That is true. We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
Well, I would have to think that they've got the players that they really need right now. Because think about this. Even if it is a game, all of a sudden you got a lot of game pieces. If you keep adding to the game pieces, even if you think you're winning, it gets a little convoluted and harder to control. They've got enough out of control right now as it is. If they really start bringing in that many people, that's already a circus. This is going to make them look even more foolish if they continue to bring more people in, because they can't even control the monkeys they've got in the courtroom. And I'm talking about their own monkeys, the prosecutors.
Yeah. Right. Were you overwhelmed by how many marshals they had? They had the guys in the suits, and those they stay with the courthouse. Those are the courthouse marshals. But then they had all the other marshals from Henderson, from the facility and stuff. It's amazing to me.
Right. Well, the more you try to control and be tyrannical, but you saw what happened in court. They weren't going to put up with it. We didn't put up with their circus, their show, their intimidation tactics. We told them what we believed. We told them that they need to feed those men, that they're not going to starve them, not on our watch. And you saw, Buddha gave his constitution to the prosecuting attorneys. They're not afraid to say what they knew to be true. Even if
I thought one of
the
best part of the day that I heard of, the best part I heard of is when the men reminded them that we're innocent until proven guilty. And what did the judge say, right. Victoria?
Well, he kind of sarcastically said, well, of course, because of the Constitution. Oh, and
that was the
whole gallery just erupted. That was the very end, where the gallery erupted saying, if they are innocent until proven guilty, then why are they being treated like this? Why are they being tortured and treated the way, and locked up for months and starved and put into cold, dirty cells? And that's when the marshals were like, everybody get out! So everybody got kicked out of the courtroom.
Well, and then to mention the Constitution, when in fact that's what they're in jail for, is bringing up the Constitution. And now we know that Ryan Bundy is even having trouble because of the chaplain.
Oh yeah,
at the
that's a
court.
ridiculous story.
It is.
Ridiculous.
This is bias. There should be no one in uniform who is threatening anyone or being laughing at anyone for their religion or denying them their religion. And there should not have been a conversation with the jailer saying that Ammon and Ryan didn't deserve to be treated well. See,
Yeah.
when you hear those things, these are people who should not be in uniform. And you have
Yeah.
to start wondering, are these people that are handling this case, are these officers or agents who got in trouble before? Are these officers or agents who actually would have a record but are being given clemency of some kind for participating in this circus?
Or getting a promotion out of it. I mean, they promote the sociopaths. You know,
Right.
the sociopaths rise. Tall men play basketball. Sociopaths play politics and police. And my friend Blackbird 9, Frederick Blackburn, just brought up a great point. He says governments come and go. Leon Trotsky said. He said, but the police stay the same.
Yeah. Well, and it's not every police. There are good police out there, but you have to wonder these people that are treating them wrong. Is it just because they're power hungry? Do they love the power that much that they have over these men that have done right, and they just like the power, and so they can treat them wrong?
Yeah. Well, I'm sorry. I've lost respect for the police, and I know. How many people say, oh, yeah, there's good men that are police and we need to support them. But really, at the end of the day, they're order takers. And men that don't play the game and take their orders don't stay in the police force.
And why do we have so many of the ones who think they're the good guys saying it wasn't us? We didn't do it. We didn't fire. We're just doing our job. We're just sitting you down here on the highway while they clean up the body. But we didn't shoot him. We weren't the ones shooting at you. To me, right there alone, it's telling you that they are promoting and using those who should be getting demoted and fired, because the good guys truly aren't going to be doing a lot of this, and they know behind the badge that they're watching the bad guys get promoted and get better jobs and getting more pay because they're doing all the wrong things, because it's keeping themselves out of jail as well. And they're doing their dirty deeds, because this is all being set up to destroy the American patriots. And what filth is it they're projecting? I mean, in filth, putting Ammon into a cell full of filth.
Just chaining him to a bench for 23 hours.
Well, he was chained. He was chained to the bench for 11 hours of the 23, but he was handcuffed for 23. But he and Ryan were handcuffed together on that bench, and then he goes in and he's starved. I mean, this is deplorable. And the ADA is supposed to step in. You've got your social services. There's agencies who are supposed to be protecting these men who are getting phone calls. None of them are doing anything.
I know the ADA, compliance in a courthouse and in prison, stuff like that. I mean, Greg Burleson should not be in prison. None of these men should be in prison. But a man with his disability, in the shape he's in right now, should be discharged immediately.
Oh, he's going to die in jail if they don't get him out of there.
I know it's not far-fetched.
No, because they don't care. Harry Reid doesn't care. We mean nothing to him.
No, Harry Reid enjoys it. He enjoys inflicting this pain on people.
It's sad. It's sad. Victoria, did you hear any foreign languages in any of your journey in Oregon?
You know what? You mean on the scene particularly?
Anywhere that you were, did you hear any foreign languages?
Not that I recall.
Okay.
Not that I recall. I do know that I thought that some of the men on the scene looked foreign. I remember thinking, particularly because when we were sitting there, Ryan Bundy said something like, "Is this Russia?" Because they were saying, "How can this be America?" Shawna and Ryan were saying, "How can this be America?" And he said something like, "Is this Russia?" I think he was referring to communist Russia when it was communist. And that just kind of triggered me. I noticed that some of the men looked foreign.
And many of them wouldn't talk. And many of them, like Pete Santilli, with the one he was trying to hand the pocket constitution to in the one film he does, the man not only wouldn't talk, he stepped back about 15 feet. And at that point, you have to question, does he even speak English?
Right. Some of them
I said all along that these were IMF troops, and then
Yes.
it came out that was not a UN friendly county, so that's why they couldn't go into John Day into the next county. They had to stay in Harney County.
What else were you going to say, Victoria?
I specifically remember one that really hit my brain, triggered. I remember when they had cuffed me, my hands were crossed, and I actually was in zip ties. But I was, my hands were hurt, my wrists were hurting, so I twisted them around so that my hands were side by side instead of crisscross. But I remember looking into the eyes of one of the guys when I did that. It's kind of funny how stuff sticks to you, like little things like that sticks in your memory. But I remember thinking that it didn't look like that guy was from the United States. I just thought about it while I was there on the scene.
Well, that's what we call blink.
Yeah, there'll be more things that you think about because it's even mannerisms and the way they do things. A lot of people don't even realize until you have time to start really thinking about what they did, if they used hand signals. I would have to think a lot of hand signals were used because if they don't speak English, at least they all know the hand signals because you'll see that. But anyways, I just thought that was interesting. Thank you for answering that.
Well, most of the guys that dealt with me in particular did speak English, but I remember there was a group, just like, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 that were off to the side, and they weren't dealing with me, Ryan, and Shawna, and those were the guys that looked to me that were foreign, that looked foreign.
Yeah, well, you know what you say, your intuition is only right 100% of the time, so I go with those things that pop out and stand in your mind. That's usually your subconscious mind giving you a clue. And my subconscious mind is telling me that I have to say that you're listening to Sacred Cow Barbecue on freedomslips.com, Revolution Radio. And we appreciate all the supporters here. We are listener and volunteer supported. And so we'd like to encourage you, if you listen regularly, please go over to freedomslips.com. Do something over there. We got cool stuff that you can buy. We've got archives that you can get monthly. Or you can just throw a couple bucks in the donation side of things. And if everybody that listened did this, we wouldn't make these little silly announcements. Tonight, my guests this second hour are Victoria Sharp, who was in the car, LaVoy Finicum's truck, with the others, with Shawna Cox and Ryan Bundy that night, and also Rene Powers, who's been doing a spectacular job covering this at the Cowboy and the Lady. And so we're going to give a shout out to Tom Davis tonight because he is driving through the desert tonight and text messaged me and asked me what number he could listen to the show on. So I sent him that. And so drive safe there, Tom, and we appreciate all the work that you folks are doing.
Well, it's a lot of work, and it takes the people. And I want to say, a lot of people are concerned about whistleblowing, and there's a lot of threats. The FBI and the BLM are threatening employees. They're threatening everybody that works for them. They're threatening people. I swear, I bet you they're pulling into gas stations and threatening kids buying candy at this point because they're just threatening everybody with being arrested or thrown in jail or fired. But I want to say that those listening that have something to say, that know the truth, you're not the only one who's feeling that way, because guess what? You may not know it, but everybody's speaking out. There is no quiet. And this federal government that thinks they can threaten people, the days of threatening are over, because people now know that if they don't talk, they're going to be dead or they're going to be fired. Because if they get fired and then say, oh, well, I got fired because I knew too much, well, then they're going to say you made it up. But if you actually come out before you get fired or before there's something happen to you, they can't discredit you. They can try, but your voice is worth more now. Now, get out, tell the truth, and save America, because if they're threatening you now just for talking, what good is your job tomorrow when this is all over? Because they're going to get rid of you anyhow. Speak
Well,
up now.
the Bolsheviks have never been very kind. Marxists have never been very kind to their devotees. I mean, once they're done with you, they're done with you, and they throw you under the bus. So I don't see
Don't
I
keep
see it's
quiet.
worse. Yeah, don't keep quiet. You need to say something. But really, does anybody really need to say one more thing? They have enough on this that Ammon, the FBI knows everything they have because he very kindly gave it to them. But then they sent all these documents to the wind for protection.
Mm-hmm.
And so people have hard copies, people have electronic copies, and so it's all out there. And so, Victoria, you spent a lot of time with Mike Arnold last weekend. And how optimistic is he about the case?
About the Oregon case, he's very optimistic. He knows the government does not have a case. They're trying to find whatever they can because they know that these people have not done nothing to break the law, and so he's very optimistic about the Oregon case. Obviously we didn't discuss the Nevada situation because he's not the Ammon's attorney for that case. But as far as the Oregon case, he's excited about it. Excited to see how the trial goes and to show that these men are innocent.
Well, I think that's great to hear. I'm really happy to hear that the attorney's upbeat. He seems like a kind of a positive kind of guy anyway. So, but
yeah.
Well, I just want to encourage anybody that was there at the Bundy Ranch and saw anything. I know of some people that were on the bridge there, and others. Please come forward. They're crowdsourcing the witnesses, which I think is a brilliant thing to do. Of 3,000 people, 2.5 to 3,000 people that were there. Obviously, there are a lot of people that saw a lot of things, and so. Mike Arnold's, you can do it on their Facebook page. You can call their law office. If you saw something, say something, as the government likes to say. And of course, Edward Norton said, I did, and now I speak Russian now.
Well, think about this. They're saying that Clive and Bundy coerced people to come, bring your guns and everything. But, Patricia, you and I know especially, the last thing he said was bring your guns.
No.
We had more people saying, well, he's not wanting us to bring our guns. We better take some. What are we going to do if they fire at us? We should at least have protection to defend ourselves.
Right.
So it wasn't Mr. Bundy saying bring your guns. He never did that.
Right. Rene, we're out of time. As always, it flew by. Victoria Sharp, thank you so much for being with us tonight. I know it's an hour later where you are. Rene, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your show.
No problem.